Welcome to Pitch in the Zone, a weekly gathering of coaches that help one presenter with a 3-minute pitch. Our coaches are Nathan Gold, specializing in high-stakes presentation coaching. He hails from San Francisco, as does Scotty Spursum, who specializes in language and accent reduction. We have Michael Marchak joining us from Chicago. He's an angel investor, a CTO, a speaker, and an author. And we have Rick Pollack joining us from Massachusetts. He is a presentation coach that has coached TEDx speakers and has a tremendous experience in the corporate space as well. And then Massimo Peroncelli, a serial entrepreneur hailing from Thailand. He also doubles as our timekeeper, so he will run a 3-minute countdown timer for you, Lindsay. If you want to keep an eye on that, you will see as you're getting closer to the 3-minute mark. And then we have 3 guests: Scott Peak, Curtis Mickelson, and Samia Bingham. Scott and Samia have been in Lindsay's, our presenter today, in Lindsay's shoes before, and Curtis just recently discovered Pitch in the Zone, and I'm so happy you came back again today. And that gets us to our presenter today, which is Lindsay Kwaku. She is pitching a 3-minute investor pitch for a project, a company called Educate Our Community. Welcome to Pitch in the Zone, Lindsay. Now, are you going to share any slides, Lindsay? If so, you can set them up right now and take a deep, deep breath. And whenever you're ready, start your pitch.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the entire panel for gathering today. It's been such a wonderful learning experience working with Claudio, so I really look forward to all of your feedback today. What if I shared it's possible to live in a world where race, class, and gender no longer mattered, and that we could finally coexist simply as people? Well, at Educate Our Community, we believe that this is possible, and it starts with reimagining curriculum. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lindsay Kwaku, and I am the founder of Educate Our Community. I started my career as a teacher in South Los Angeles and earned a doctorate in urban educational leadership from USC. I have always been interested in equitable education. But becoming a mom caused me to think more intentionally about the critical connection between curriculum and the world that you create upon leaving K-12. And this was only accelerated with the racial protests from last year. The problem is curriculum is disengaging. Did you know that in 2019 alone, 2 million students dropped out of high school, and half reported classes were just not interesting? This will cost us an astronomical price tag of over $500 billion in the coming years. And as a mom and professor of education, while this data concerns me, I believe that there's a solution to disengagement. So we create curriculum that focuses on real life problems. Students learn about the problem and develop a solution to address it, building their critical and creative thinking skills. First, our 2 pilot high school courses look at the lack of green space and homelessness. Next, students use a design process to develop their solution to these problems. Our teachers receive a full suite of instructional materials and are provided professional development on a monthly basis via Zoom. So we are looking at 2 different markets from our perspective have been historically separated. Our total addressable market for the K-12 curriculum and professional development market is $31 billion. Our serviceable addressable market looks at Title I schools, specifically in California, and we plan to focus on these same types of schools in Southern California. And with so much relief aid being made available specifically for low-income students, we think our curriculum is an opportunity to fill a need that hasn't quite been met yet. And we say this because of our review of curriculum and professional development companies. The names that you see across the top are companies specifically used in Southern California. Along the left-hand side is the criteria we use to evaluate each program. And per our assessment, we're the only company creating real-world problem-solving curriculum and supporting teachers throughout the implementation. So we have some early traction. Our MVP launched this past fall at a local high school, and we have a large school district in Southern California currently considering a pilot for early next year. We've conducted 71 customer discovery interviews to date, and 96% of our potential customers have expressed interest in the content. We are presenting the results of our fall MVP to 3 large education organizations in Southern California. For the next 3 to 6 months, we are focused on achieving product market fit, advertising our beta product, and identifying advisors and mentors to support our growth. If you're interested in learning more or even piloting our content, please feel free to visit us at educateourcommunity.com. Thank you.
Excellent job, Lindsay. Well done, well done. And I'm impressed with the timing. We met 3 days ago, I think 2 days ago, and you were still above 5 minutes at that time. And I feel just shaving off those 2 minutes, you didn't lose anything. You didn't lose anything in your message. So well done on that end. But of course, there's always a lot that we can improve. So let me start. I'm going down the screen as I see it over here on my side. So Rick, do you want to be the first one to help Lindsay improve that pitch a little bit? You're on mute.
Okay, now I hit unmute the second time and it worked this time. Lindsay, very nicely done. I think your slides were good. I saw, in the chat, Michael had mentioned you were reading, and I think that's something that you're going to eventually get past to go through, so you don't look like you're reading, because especially on Zoom, your eyes are looking at the paper and then at the camera and then looking at the paper again. One thing that I liked, and look at my notes here, I like the way you had the alliteration where it said accelerate academic achievement. You had the alliteration of the A's there. One thing that I think that you can be a little clearer on and probably use a story, even though in 3 minutes, I wasn't really clear. You talked about the problem with, the racial disparity and people need to coexist with race and class. And again, your personal interest becoming a mom and how you got interested in that and the protests. And also the problem with the $2 million dropout and the $584 billion cost on that. But I didn't really see on the solution. You had little charts with your total addressable market and that. But I think a quick story about how your curriculum is actually going to keep people interested and keep them in school would really help the investors understand your differentiation. Because you had a lot of charts and graphs in there and said we're doing all this, but I think a 30-second story of here was a child who was in school who was bored, but our curriculum, we added this course to help them understand and coexist and disparities and kept their interest and kept them in school. I think that's really key to getting people to understand exactly what you're doing instead of the charts and the graphs. So my notes, which I put in all capital letters, you really need a story that people can relate to see a before and after, some way to contrast what's there now, what the problem is, and how you solve the problem, and how the students in the K-12, that new curriculum is going to get them more engaged. Also, I think you showed that early traction, which is good. Where you mentioned you're the only company creating that curriculum, and I think if you make that clearer exactly how that curriculum differs, that's good. But at the end, I thought it was, well, thank you very much. But I think if it's an investor pitch, you need a stronger call to action. You need something. Here's something that here's what you can do next. Here's how you can help these children stay in school. No, it was nice to talk to you. Thank you. I think it's more of getting the investors saying that this is a problem we really need to solve. We can't ignore this. And put it that way to say that, you really can't ignore this. Here's what you can do. We need so much here. Here are our milestones so far. This is not some slide where we're really doing this, but here's how you can invest with us. And the goal is to keep these kids in school and to keep that curriculum and to save, that 584 billion or wherever that number is. So I think a stronger call to action and a story are two things that I would recommend that would make the pitch much, much stronger. But great job.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Excellent feedback. Wonderful, Rick. And moving right along to Massimo. Massimo, what kind of feedback do you have for Lindsay?
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you for introducing me to these problems, because I'm not really aware of all the things happening in the States about education. So I'm always happy to learn new things. But specifically for the pitch, I would say the opening was not very strong. You do have a very nice slide that I think you can use, the one for the 2 million people dropping out. Imagine if you start with something like, 2 million students are dropping out and we are losing almost 600 billion because of that. And then you tell us what's your solution, what you think you can do to solve that. In general, about the slides, a lot of times we say that you should have 2 decks. One more detailed that you give them, and one more with less text that you can show them. Because I was taking notes about, for example, the slide with the our solution 1, 2, and 3. You can split that in 3 different slides because there's too much and we cannot read. But then I said, okay, probably it's just too much. Maybe just put the 3 titles, the 3 subjects, and then you are explaining. You do not need the slides to talk for you because you are talking. So let the other deck give the details to the investors. And the real thing that we were just discussing before the meeting, you have 3 kids, so you feel, what the problem is. I think you're kind of afraid of, you don't want your kids to get lost in the education system, right? So I would like to feel your emotion, your passion about that. It was like everybody said, it was reading, it was perfectly clear, like in the news, but I want you to see, like, maybe I'm Italian, so I expected too much, but I want to feel your emotion, your passion, your commitment to that. It was kind of neutral, the way you were saying that. But thank you for letting me know more about the education problems in the States. Thank you.
Thank you,
Excellent. Excellent feedback as always, Massimo. And yes, Lindsay, we talked about the opening before, and I'm not surprised to hear Massimo make that recommendation as well. It's just something that would wake people up, because maybe it's just Massimo and me that are so flabbergasted by this high number of students that are dropping out and the economic impact. But I think also in the US audience, this is something that really makes people look and lean forward to hear how you are solving that problem. Michael, what kind of feedback do you have for Lindsay?
I did put a bunch of things into the chat. I'll cover some of those, but I totally agree. I was going to key off of what Massimo says, which is, as you described the problem, as you described it, it was much like a news anchor would read it. Today, 2 million children were found dead outside of a school. Next, we have the weather coming up. There was no emotion in how you read any of that, and it was really difficult for me because I know you had kids. And if this is truly a passion of yours, which I suspect it is, I didn't feel anything. I really didn't. So that's one aspect of it. If you're trying to get to some kind of emotional response from me, or at least connect me with something, I think you missed it a little bit by being more generic in your approach. Again, you really need to get that passion, that emotion in there. You don't have to be over emotional, but you have to have some kind of emotional connection so that I want to listen to more. Secondly, as you were going through the pitch and you described the issues that were there, listening as an investor, I have no idea what your business model is. I suspect based on what you're doing, you're building some curriculum that you're going to sell to somebody. but I have no idea who you sell to. I don't know how that process works. Going into government sales, especially within schools, and I've got kids too who went through school districts. You sell to the school districts? Do you sell to the state? Do you rely on grants for things? How does that process work? Why is it difficult to get into this kind of process, and how you're going to use the money that you're going to ask for, which you didn't ask for at the end, to do that? Because all I got you is, we have a problem. We've got stuff we're working on. We're piloting on it. Things look good. Thanks. And I have no idea what you're asking for. I have no idea, as an investor, if you're asking me to put in $1 million to do this thing, what kind of returns would I see in this? Is this $1 million you're putting in to help match a grant from the state, and then that goes to the school district, and hopefully within the next 10 years, I'll recoup my money? Or is this something that, boy, after the first sale, I'll get all my money back, and then everything after that, royalty wise? Because again, I have no idea what the business models are. There royalties? Is this online courses? I have no idea what you're selling, honestly. So if you're looking from a business, if this is truly an investor pitch, get me connected emotionally so I understand what you're doing and why it's important to you. Get me connected then to the people you're selling to. These people are X, Y, and Z. And right now, the way they're looking at it is this. And here's how I'm going to approach it to be able to address this market need in a different way, or provide this kind of information in a more effective manner. And here's how that we business-wise make money at that at the end of the day. Because I really got nothing out of that from an investor pitch, as you mentioned this was. I didn't catch any of that.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
Yeah, really great feedback. And I can already tell, looking at Lindsay's face, she's like, well, we've cut out so much. So where am I going to put all of this back in? But do not worry, Lindsay. We'll get this pitch in tip-top shape and within the 3 minutes, no problem at all. Nathan, what kind of feedback do you have today?
Thank you. All right. So first of all, the ed tech, as you must know, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are taking it more and more seriously these days. But it's a very crowded space. So taking in everything people have said here, your opening needs to really hit people straight on. I also agree with people that the 2 million people dropping out of high school is a very powerful number if you don't know about ed tech. So if you be careful when you go to an ed tech investor group or an investor, they might already know that number or have a clue about that number because other people might be using that number as well. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use that number. It just means you need to take that number and own it, like tie it back to what you're doing, not just make it a general thing that's happening. And that would begin to build that emotional connection back to what you're doing for education. You had a super great humble brag at the beginning, dropping in the PhD and all of that. Instant credibility with your audiences. You're the right person or one of the right people to do what you've set out to do. The voice of enthusiasm was missing, as people have pointed out, but that's probably only because of the situation here today. Right? You're under the pressure. You want to perform. Claudio and you have worked together and you want to perform well and he wants you to do well and we all want you to, but just realize that voice of enthusiasm will eventually start to come out the more comfortable you feel with what you're saying. When you throw that script away and just work from bullets perhaps and get even more confident about what you want to say, that emotional connection will begin to come through. And all you need to really do is just add that energy or that emphasis to a word or a phrase as you're speaking where it sounds natural. Just more of that. So I agree with everybody on the opening. I felt like your opening was a little bit too general. What if I told you that blah, blah, blah? It's like, okay. That was like okay. But then when you got into it, I thought, Mom, we're going to bring that stuff up to grab people right around the throat. So do you know how much time you spent on the problem? Probably not. Take a guess. How much of your 3.5 minutes did you spend on the problem?
I'm hoping maybe 30 seconds because
oh, snap.
Snap.
Yeah, 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Okay.
So that's where you get back a lot of your time that you're needing to put in the things that other people here on this call are suggesting. Just thin out that problem statement and not necessarily throw away all the problem statement, but leave it and maybe use it later as a way to help in the way you show what you're doing. This solves the problem of. You don't have to go into all of that level of detail in the problem statement, because typically you're going to be talking to investors that are familiar with ed tech, and at 34 seconds, they're already going back to their email. So at least get to it quicker. And I think that you'll be able to keep the attention of your investors even more. What else? Early traction, that's key. I want to hear more about that.
Okay.
Especially at your stage. You have one pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so make hay about the pilot until you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and then 20 and then 100, and then you have a different level of confidence in the way you're speaking about the traction that you're getting. But when you have one pilot, just, hey, that's exciting. That's where you can go really get that emotional connection, because we got one. Let's do it. Right. And then the last thing is more breathing, and perhaps try to stand when you present, just as an experiment. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. Come back again, by the way. We've had people come back 3 and 4 times, I think, at times. So come on back in a couple of weeks and let's do it again.
Okay. Thanks so much, Nathan.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Nathan. And moving right along to Scotty, what kind of feedback do you have for Lindsay?
Sure. Lindsay, it was great to hear what you're doing. I still don't know why you. Like you've got the capability, right, and the creed, but was there something? I mean, I know it's a big problem. You have young kids. Was there something else that really? What inspired you? Like, there are lots of people who have this idea and have similar skill sets, but was there anything that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the way that I approached my own curriculum as a classroom teacher. When I taught kindergarten in South LA, it was Hurricane Katrina. And so my kindergartners, to practice reading and writing skills, we read the Los Angeles Times and we wrote letters to President George W. Bush. We wrote letters proposing solutions to help people in that impacted area. And so it's something I've always been passionate about, and something that I've always believed about curriculum. I even watch my own kids. And so unfortunately, homelessness is pervasive in our area, and they ask questions about it and we talk about it. So I know that this is something, I feel like I've tapped into something. And so this is what really inspires and motivates me to bring this to a larger group of students.
So to me, that brings me emotion, like, whoa, this woman's got more than just a PhD. I mean, and I don't mean it like that, but you have even more than your PhD. You've got your brain and your ability to think about things. You've got real life experience. I don't know if you're staying in touch with any of those kindergartners, if there are any stories you can weave through that working with this kind of curriculum, I could see firsthand for the little ones, how it opened their opportunity to learning. And that helped inspire me to get my PhD, come up with this business plan. I've been working on it actually for the last 6 years in my head. I mean, I don't know, something where people go, oh yeah, she's got something new and something different.
Okay.
And that I think will help get to the introduction and the why you part, which is what everybody wants to know, whether they're an investor or someone who wants to, buy the curriculum package.
Okay.
So I think building on that would be super great, super interesting. And I don't want to repeat anything or much of anything that anybody else said on the solution slide where you had the bar of what you do versus what other people do. It was really busy. I was having trouble trying to read it,
Okay.
And compare it to the other ones. So maybe changing that model to, there's the grid model with the circles, like who has all these things, and you're the only one who will be in the upper right side. I think that would be a better visual, easier to read with fewer words and fewer words and checks and things. And then, for the ask, well, 2 things. I kept hearing K through 12 curriculum, but I was only hearing high school pilots. So maybe your bigger goal is K through 12, but right now you're focused on high school. Maybe to make that a little bit clearer as part of explaining more about your business model. And your ask, I agree with what others have said, but to make it more powerful, it was, if you want more information or want to start a pilot, come talk to me. It felt very like, oh, please come to me, as opposed to we're looking for mentors, new schools to pilot our program, and dollars. So I look forward to speaking with you soon. You need to be a little bit more aggressive about your ask so that the audience knows whether they can fulfill it or they might know someone else who can. Like you just never know where those things will go. So yeah, great though. Great. Thanks for sharing that too. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but a few people were going, oh, that's it. So I'm glad you shared that with us.
Absolutely. And thank you, Scotty, for asking the question, because if you go back to the recording later on, Lindsay, you will see also that your delivery of that answer was so different because, of course, you told it by heart. Yeah, right. You didn't have to read it. So this is the kind of enthusiasm I think that people would love to see in the pitch in itself. Now, let me move on. Curtis just made a comment in the chat box as well about the business model. Please, Curtis, we do not have too much time anymore, only in another 4 or 5 minutes. But
I can hit it in 2. I can do it in 2, Claudia.
That. All right.
All right. All right. So as a business model coach and innovator, that's where I zone in kind of. So I was keying off Michael's comments too. There's some big trends you can just refer to, again, that EdTech people know, but I kind of felt a flavor of project-based learning in there when I saw your slide around the solution. So PBL, just an acronym, I'm sure you've come across that. Participatory budgeting is big and getting bigger. I can connect you to a buddy who's moving into that space with a K through 12 solution. It's called First Root. His name is Luke Holman, so talk to me afterwards, and he'll share with you the challenges of running pilots in K through 12 schools. But he's threading that needle, and I think he would be a good contact for you. And you don't have an offering that competes with him. And that gets to my next point. Partners can make all the difference in a business model. When I looked at your slide with McGraw Hill, Danielson Group, and the others, I'm like, oh yeah, I know these players. They're big. You're probably going to need a key partner. Think about people in the OER space, Open Educational Resources, another key acronym in education, OER. Where's your curriculum going to come from? It's hanging free on the trees, so use OER. What is your value add on top of the OER? It's this DEI sensitive, racially aware, all of that you're adding, the human side of it. That's what's going to differentiate your offering. But last thing, what is the most third rail topic in the United States right now? DEI, critical race theory. Look at the fights we're having at school board meetings over masking. It's only getting worse. So what can you do to calm the waters, give everyone a way to talk about this? And school boards they're just hornet's nests right now of fights. So what can you do to kind of make this smooth and easy and bring this country together in a new conversation and get our kids engaged at the same time? Small ask, I know, but you can do it. Okay.
Wow. Thank you, Curtis. This is some of the most valuable feedback, and it clearly shows you have some experience in this space here. Wonderful. Please come back every week, Curtis, because this is the kind of thing that I believe presenters, they just need this along the way somewhere in their development. Now, very, very quickly, Scott Peak, what kind of feedback or observations do you have for Lindsay?
I'm not going to repeat things, Lindsay, because the coaches have hit all the key points, and I saw them. But I relived my pitches, and I just want to say something. These coaches are so talented, and what they kept hitting on with me is having that calm, like the experience that you had when you were not being in your pitch, but you were talking about it and the passion. I relived it because that's exactly what I had to deal with. And I know it's hard because you're trying to get all the information out. You got a good idea and a great pitch that, to start on. I really think keep coming back. They invite you back, keep coming back, because that's where you improve. And I'm not 100% there yet, but I'm keeping, working on these ideas and making it more successful. But good job.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Scott. And of course, I'm looking forward to your next iteration of your pitch. And then some final thoughts maybe from Samia. Samia, you've been in Lindsay's seat before. What kind of observation can you share with her?
Yeah, great job, Lindsay. I won't, repeat what everyone else said. Kind of some of the key things was about your business model and talking about like the race and class theories. You didn't really touch on that until this portion of it where it really came to life. So bring that to life in your actual pitch, because that is the premise of your business model. So being able to express that is really going to help. And that's pretty much it. But I've been in your shoes, and just keep pitching. You're gonna get on bigger stages, and this is the best stage. Absolutely, this is the best stage, the best advice. And so just keep coming back, just like Scott said. And I learned something every day. Whole notebook today of just notes of things that I took from your pitch as well. So good luck. Good luck.
Wow, thank you very much, Samia. And that gets us pretty much to the end of today's session here. I want to ask you very briefly, Lindsay, was this valuable to you? And if so, in what way?
This was 120% valuable to me, and I'm so excited to come back. I am so grateful for the feedback. I definitely see trends in all of your feedback. I need to emotionally connect. I need to have a stronger business model. The financials need to be stronger, and I need to be more aggressive with my ask at the very end. So I am grateful. I'm going to take this feedback and apply it to the pitch, and I would love to come back and present to all of you again. So thank you so much.
Please do, please do. I believe actually we have an open slot in 2 weeks. And I think that's a very, very nice time to get prepared a little bit further. So what I suggest is hop on the calendar already now for in 2 weeks for Pitch in the Zone. And then hop on my calendar as well after you had some time to digest what went on here today. And we'll do one more session and then come back to Pitch in the Zone. And I think we will see a huge, huge difference, because we all noticed whenever you're speaking freely, you are a bundle of joy. The energy is in your voice and your enthusiasm is coming through. As soon as you go into presenter mode, and that is something very, very common, it changes, the delivery changes. And if we can combine those two things, your message on one side, the professional message, with Lindsay, the person, giving that performance or delivering that message, we will have a winner. So I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon, Lindsay. And thanks to all of the coaches, Rick, Massimo, Michael, Nathan, Scotty, and I also count Curtis in here. I might have to add your picture onto our collateral material or something, because I was really, really very excited about your feedback, and I hope you will be coming back soon again as well. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we shall see each other again next Thursday. And by the way, Nathan will have a office hour later on today. It's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific Time. This is a great opportunity to spend some time with Nathan. Whatever you want to work on, it's called Just the FAQs. So drop in. The link is in the email that I sent out a little bit before this meeting here. Drop into Nathan and tap into his vast knowledge and experience. And again, with that, have a wonderful day. See you again next week. Bye-bye.